Put your hands together for Ricky Carruth.
You. Keep it going for me.
Keep it going.
Get loud, get loud. Come on, guys, get loud. Everybody say, what? Say, yeah. Say, okay. Guys, how you doing? All right. Orange Beach is my home. I went to Gulf Shores Elementary, Foley High School, and I'll be honest with you guys. Growing up down here on the Gulf Coast as a kid, you just don't realize how good you got it. You totally take the beach for granted. You don't know any different. It's really not your fault. It wasn't until I went to college in Missouri, of all places, that's when I actually realized, it took me going to another place to realize that I'd grown up in the middle of paradise. So, I grew up watching my father roof houses, work hard, provide for his family, and really, my dad is right over here. You guys give him a big round of applause. This guy roofed houses till he was in his late 40s and then got into real estate. But I grew up watching him work really hard. And my mom cut hair. She worked hard, provided for her family. When I became a teenager, I started roofing houses with my father. It was just kind of natural. I watched him do it. I started doing it. A lot of people ask me how I did it, because it is long, hard, hot days. But really, it's a lot like growing up on the Gulf Coast. You don't know what you don't know. When you're born into something and it's all you know, that's it. It was just kind of natural. So really the truth is, I love roofing, and everything is really just work anyway. And at the end of the day, I just love to work. I'm just a worker. Who here just loves to work? You just a worker. Golly. You guys are a bunch of workaholics. You need to take some time off and spend with the family. But anyway, I worked all through that. When I was a little boy, I knew when I was a little boy that I was going to do great things. I was going to inspire people, motivate people to reach their full potential. And what is your full potential? What's anybody's full potential? What's my full potential? The truth is, you don't know. Nobody knows what their full potential is. You can say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Here's my goals. This is what I want to do. But until you actually put the work in to actually accomplish those goals, you don't know if you're going to hit that goal or overshoot that goal or fall short of it. You don't know where you're going to hit until you actually put forth the efforts to get there. And until you give it everything you got every single day, you don't know where you're going to end up. You could go to places you've never even imagined. So I knew when I was a little boy that I was going to inspire people to do this. I didn't know how. And, when I started roofing, that was kind of like, I knew that roofing wasn't going to be my path to this, but I knew there was something about it that I knew I needed to do it. I needed to succeed. I needed something. Like I have this burning desire to just do great and be the best. Something inside of me. Roofing was my first opportunity to focus on something and really take it to another level. And so that's what I did. And looking back, now I know that I realized watching my dad that it was to learn work ethic and to learn what it means to get paid for what you do as opposed to work by the hour where you get paid for just being there. There's a big difference. So, but I knew that wasn't my path, my personal path to where I wanted to be. When I turned 20, that's when I got my real estate license. When I got my real estate license, right then I thought, I'm in the money, I'm in the money. That's the song that goes off in everybody's head when they get their real estate license. They think that they're fixing to just kill it and it's all downhill from here. But the truth is, it's a lot of work. It's really hard to get started. It's a big learning curve, but once you break through, right, once you adapt, once you learn, once you experience what works and what doesn't work, you know, there's plenty of success for everybody. There's no scarcity of business. When I got my real estate license, I thought, this is it for roofing. I'm done with that. So I quit roofing, got into real estate full time. 30 days goes by, I sell absolutely zero. Not even close, not even a nibble. So bills are still coming in. I got to get back into roofing. Now I'm roofing full time, doing real estate on the side, trying to figure this whole thing out. I went through that process for 8 long months. It took me 8 months to make my first sale in real estate. And that was a frustrating 8 months because I'm 20 years old and I want something so bad I can taste it. I'm doing everything I can do every day to accomplish it, and it takes 8 long months. So, but you gotta understand too, during that time, no Facebook, no Trulia, no Zillow, none of the apps, none of this, right? It's a totally different world. Realtors can literally get in the business now and start making sales immediately with the way technology has opened up to us. My first sale was actually my grandmother's condo. My 83-year-old grandmother is here today supporting me. Right over here, everybody give her a nice hand. Once I made my first sale, it was like dominoes. Boop, 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 boop. I started selling 2 a month. 2 a month. 2 is like my magic number. This is 2002, 2003, and I'm still very young. I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out. I'm clipping along. I'm learning how to do deals, how to talk and all this. And then all of a sudden, the market decides to blow up and explode right in front of me in a good way. Prices are shooting up. People are buying and selling stuff left and right. And I'm sitting here making all kinds of money thinking this is the way it's done. You know, I'm a real estate mogul. I'm 22. So I'm clipping along. I'm doing very well. By the time I'm 23, I'm a self-made millionaire. I had houses and cars and Hummers, all that stuff. And, you know, I'm clipping along. Everything is going great. I'm thinking, this is it. I'm retired. I'm the king. It's over, right? I'm going to be completely wealthy. Then Hurricane Ivan hits. Hurricane Ivan was the first thing that came through that really knocked the wind out of our sails. Hurricane Ivan was devastating to Gulf Shores, Orange Beach area. You know, that was kind of everybody took a step back. So, you know, sales, it was a weird time, you know. Prices were still really high, but everybody was kind of wondering what's going on. Then in 05, that was 04, 05, the market started trending down, slowly. It didn't just plummet, it slowly started going down. And the market completely changed on a dime right in front of me. I had no idea what was happening, what to do, how to handle it. So I'm sitting here trying to hang on, you know, just hanging on by a thread, trying to figure out what I need to do to continue making the money I was making, right? Because by that time, I had bought all kinds of real estate. I had all kinds of loans and payments and houses and cars. I had to keep up with it, and I couldn't keep up with it. So, but I was trying to hang on. I slowly watched everything that I had worked hard for evaporate right in front of me. There was nothing I could do about it until I absolutely had nothing. So I went from 20, a roofer, roofing, a real estate mogul at 23, millionaire, broke at 25, living on friends' couches, bankrupt, with nothing. I had to go back to roofing houses. Now I'm back roofing houses again, which was very humbling experience because here I was, I thought I was done. Now I'm back on a roof all of a sudden. and eventually got a job on an oil rig in Hattiesburg. So I did all this with my father, of course. I got him into real estate. Then when the market crashed, we both got back out of real estate, and we're working on an oil rig together. Now we're back in real estate. But it was during this time, the downturn, when I had nothing. That was when I learned the most about business, life, everything that I really needed to know to build a foundation moving forward that would carry me through any circumstances. I was very curious, and it's all work to me. You know, when I roofed, it was work. When I did really well in real estate, when I didn't know what I was doing but made a lot of money, I was working. I worked after that, through the downturn. I worked my way back up. I'm working now, and I'll keep working. It's all work to me, nothing really different. So when I lost everything, it wasn't like, poor pitiful me. I wasn't sad about it. I wanted to know why. Because I knew that there was people in the world who made it to the top and who kept it, you know, through market downturns, market crashes. And I was curious. I wanted to know why I lost everything, why I couldn't maintain what I had, what decisions did I make that led me to where I was, and how do other people make it? I think that's a big thing. Curiosity. So I read over 100 books. I studied the market. I watched prices, inventory, supply, demand. I watched agents who made it through the crash. I watched agents who didn't make it. I wanted to know if they had made the same mistakes I made. And I did that for years, where I just worked, roofing, oil rig, study, for years. And what I came up with, eventually, was a lot of stuff. But just to break it down, the general thesis of what I figured out was, before the crash, my business was too short-term minded and transactional. I wasn't worried about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. I was only worried about the deal. And what I realized is that to make it in any circumstances, to really survive on a large level, that short-term thinking, transactional, is a recipe for disaster. I wasn't worried about staying in touch with people. I was just worried about deals. Let's do a deal. Let's go to the next deal. That's how the market was at the time. So I switched from short-term transactional to long-term relational, where now I'm thinking about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, 5 years, 20 years. I'm thinking about more the relationship with my clients rather than just the deal. And it's a whole completely different mindset. You'll be amazed when you quit worrying about the deal and start worrying about the relationship with this client long term, how many deals you put together. When you quit going after the deal, when you quit worrying about the deal. It's kind of, I like to refer to it as reverse psychology on the market. Because you're not going after the transaction. You're going after the relationship forever. So this was just a theory to me at this point. You know, I learned it, I studied it, I figured it out, but I didn't know if it worked. So in 2008, oil prices plummeted. I eventually got laid off from the oil rig, and I was kind of forced back into real estate. And I'd already been talking to some people and trying to put some deals together. So, you know, I sold a couple of foreclosures to a couple buyers, and that was it. I had some financial breathing room, and I was able to give real estate a second chance, a full-time second chance. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. I'm not going to screw this up again. So that was 2008. I made $80,000. I went from making $40,000 on an oil rig to $80,000 selling real estate. And it was such an amazing feeling to be back in the real estate business, and to make $80,000 was a lot of money. is a lot of money. So I just kept plugging away and implementing my new strategies. I want to build relationships with people, right? And I want to become known in my market. 2009, I did 100,000. Super happy. 2010 rolls around, I've got a lot of momentum going, everything's going good. And then, boom, BP oil spill. The BP oil spill was a devastating situation. It was a lot of uncertainty. Nobody knew what was going to happen with that situation. This has never happened. Nobody knew, the consequences, the chemicals, the oil. Nobody knew. And the media wasn't helping, but it really wasn't their fault. They had to prepare us for the worst because nobody knew. So they had to prepare us for the worst, so I don't blame them for anything. But as soon as the oil spill happened, I thought, yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay. The market is turning down. Sellers are dumping. Agents are getting out of the market, moving to Birmingham. They think it's going to be Black Seas for 5 years. And I said to myself, this gives me an opportunity to test out my new theories of if I can use this long-term relational mindset to carry me through a market downturn. Can I sell properties under any circumstances? So I told all the agents around me, I said, stay calm, keep your clients informed of what's happening, and just help them. If they want to dump because they're scared, just help them. If they want to buy because somebody's dumping a property, it's good, help them. If they want to hold, that's what I really learned through the downturn, guys, is that when the market comes down, it creates opportunity. Because buyers want to buy, they want to buy right now. Because prices are low, and they want to get it before it comes back up. Sellers got to sell because they're in trouble. And agents leave the business during this time. It's an incredible opportunity. So in 2010, I do 150K. 50% more than I made the year previous in a down year. A scary year. It was a 6 or 8 month period. That was my aha moment. When I made more money in 2010 during the oil spill, I said, I don't have real estate completely figured out, but I'm on to something really good. So that was when I said, I'm ready to go to RE/MAX. RE/MAX for me, I always wanted to be a RE/MAX. But I wanted to, with the desk fees, I wanted to make sure I could consistently sell properties. And I made sure I could just consistently sell properties before I made that move. But I felt very confident when I made it through the oil spill and I switched over. Now, I've got my new theories, my new techniques, my new business model. Now I'm mixing that with the most incredible brand in real estate. Now, the thing about brands for me is, a brand doesn't make you. I'm a big believer, I've always said this, I've never heard anybody else say it, I think it's a Ricky quote, that it doesn't matter where you work, it just matters how hard you work and how you work. A brand is not going to give you anything. You have to create it on your own. I don't look for anybody to give me anything. I think a lot of agents think they need to work here because they're going to give this, they're going to give that. They go there, they're disappointed because you don't get anything. Right? And so if you can't make it with a small company, you're not going to make it with a big company, and vice versa. But in theory, you should be able to make it anywhere you go. So I go to RE/MAX, and I start working my way up. And if you fast forward to today, I have all kinds of awards and all this stuff. I'm writing books, I'm coaching, I'm speaking, I'm doing a reality show on YouTube. Is anybody watching my reality show on YouTube? The Daily Grind? Check it out. But why am I doing all this? Why am I trying to help people? Why am I speaking today? Why am I doing everything that I'm doing and putting a lot of energy into helping other agents succeed, even agents in my own market? Why am I doing it? I have a very passionate mission to reduce the failure rate in the real estate industry. Now, how am I going to do that? I'm going to do it by teaching and bringing awareness to a couple of simple things. Number one, closings are happening every single day. If you look in your MLS, they're happening every day. If you're not making any closings, if you're not having any closings, it's not the market's fault, because closings are happening. You haven't figured out how to become part of these closings. They're happening. Even when the market goes down, transactions are happening. When agents leave the market, when the market goes down, transactions go down, but you still have the same or more transactions per agent during that time. It's an incredible opportunity. The second thing is that conversation, real conversation, is the key to all closings, is the common denominator. There's not a closing in history that didn't have a conversation involved where two people spoke. If it's a for sale by owner, they spoke, they made it happen. It's, if it's an internet lead, they came in, you sell the email, you have to call them right then. There has to be a conversation. The conversation, the real conversation that has to be made for there to be a transaction. This is the reason why technology hasn't and will not replace real estate agents. There has to be real human contact. You have to talk, you have to hear somebody's voice, you have to see if there's a fit that you guys can do business together. So if we know closings happen every day, we know conversation is the key to all these closings, and there's unlimited people to talk to in the world, why not speed this process up of success? Go ahead and have as many conversations as you can possibly have with as many people as you can possibly have, so you can have as many closings as you possibly can. I think too many people are trying to find the workaround around the conversation. And if they would just put as half the work they put into trying to find the workaround and actually just talking to people and calling people, then they would be far more successful. So, as I stand here, last year, I wanted to self-evaluate. I wanted to really take a close look at, how did I lose everything, get it back? How am I able to sell 10, 15 properties a month on a consistent basis? How am I able to do this? And so I sat down and I really thought about it, really hard. And I came up with 4 key factors, key principles to long-term success. These 4 key factors are mandatory. You have to have all 4. If there's somebody that is not successful or not as successful as they want to be, I can sit down with them for 5 or 10 minutes and have a conversation, and I can tell you which one of these 2 or 3 or 4 of these 4 they're missing, because you can't miss any of them. The first one is you got to believe. You have to believe. Now, here's the thing about believing. You got to believe in believing. A lot of people don't believe in believing, right? They think it's some kind of magic thing, and just because you think it can come true and all that. But here's the thing about it. When you believe 100% in something that you're trying to achieve, when you believe it so much that it has basically already happened in your head, that's how much you believe it, you're fully committed, you automatically start taking the actions necessary to achieve that, whatever it is. Because in your mind, it already happened. So it's just another day, another walk in the park. No big deal. That's how I operate. I go to the office like nothing's going on. Because in my mind, all this stuff's already happened. If you believe 99.9%, you're going to lose. Because that 0.1% of doubt is going to hold you back from taking those actions. And every little bit counts. I'm sure a lot of you know the story of Jim Carrey. He wrote himself a $10 million check when he was broke, dated for 5 years out from when he wrote it. And 5 years later, right before the check expires, he finds out he's going to make $10 million on Dumb and Dumber. Well, when he wrote that check, a lot of people say, yeah, you know, whatever, he wrote the check and then it happened and all that stuff. But here's the part of the story you probably don't know. He wrote the check. He immediately, when he wrote it, he already believed, or he wouldn't have wrote it, but when he wrote it, now he really believes. Now he's 100% pot committed. He immediately goes to the Laugh Factory, starts doing $25 a night gigs every single night. He started putting forth actions that he needed to get where he wanted to be. That led to In Living Color. That led to Ace Ventura. That led to everything else he's done. Right? You have to believe where you're going. You have to be 100% committed, or it's not going to happen. Because a lot of you guys have goals and dreams that are very large and seem unattainable. And if you want to actually hit those kind of goals that seem unimaginable, you have to believe just to have the edge to even come close. So you have to believe. The second thing is you got to work hard. I know that all these kind of sound simple, but when I get through them, you're going to see it's a puzzle. And you have to have all four of these. And believe and work hard kind of go hand in hand, because when you believe in something so much, you automatically start putting in the work. The harder you work, the luckier you get. Everybody's heard that. I'm living proof of that. Because I put my head down, I work every single day, I'm grinding. And then good things happen. 2017 was the year I made the least amount of cold calls. But I did the most amount of business. And I was able to write books and do podcasts and shows and coach. And I took a lot of time away from real estate, but I still made the most money by far last year than I ever made. Why is that? Because the harder I work, the luckier I get. All the years of putting these relationships in place and building my database, staying in touch with them. Right? And to go back to what I said earlier, get paid for what you do, not just being there, working by the hour. It's a totally different mindset. Real estate was a nice transition for me because I was used to getting paid for what I did in terms of getting paid for every shingle I laid, as opposed to getting paid for just being somewhere, clocking in. So it was a nice transition for me. I just had to find what related to laying shingles in real estate, which was to me make phone calls. You have to find your thing, right? Which brings me to the third key to long-term success is adapt. So you got to believe, you got to work hard, and you have to adapt. Adapt. It's like most people do the same stuff forever, and they're trying to figure out how to go to the next level, but they keep doing the same things. It's like you have to change it up. You have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And the only way to do that is to try new things all the time and figure out what works and what doesn't work. Another thing about adapting is learning. You have to be a curious person. You have to want to learn. You have to learn that negative emotions are a waste of time. Fear of rejection, anxiety, they're a waste of time. Positivity is the key. You can see something positive in every single situation. A lot of agents that don't make it in real estate can't stomach losing deals. Losing deals is like horrible to a lot of people. To me, it's fine. Because you see the good in it. The good in losing a deal is I learned something. Every time a negative thing happens to me, I say, what did I learn from it? And how can I make this better next time? When you lose a deal, you learn something from whatever the situation was, but even further, now you have more future time back that you don't have to spend on that deal anymore that you just lost. You lost a listing, that's fine. You don't have to worry about signing it, going to take pictures, put it on MLS, talking to agents to show it, so on and so forth. Get the contract, negotiate it, all the way to the closing. There's a lot of time that goes into that. Think about the time you just got back by losing that deal that you can now spend to take this new knowledge you just learned to go get 5 more deals. That's the way you got to think. And it multiplies. Everything starts multiplying when you think like that. Relationships over transactions every single time. Do everything you can to maintain the relationship over the monetary benefits every single time. Long-term thinking over short-term thinking every single time. So, that's long-term, right? You got believe, work hard, adapt, and the fourth one is the toughest one. Be patient. So, there's a lot of people that believe. Out of those people, there's very few that believe and work hard. Out of the people that believe and work hard, very few also adapt. And then you get to an even smaller group of people who believe, work hard, adapt, and are patient. Patience is the toughest one. It's the one I've had the most trouble with myself. In 2014, I did 600K. 2015, I wanted to do $1 million. So I did this plan. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to make this many calls, I'm going to put all this together, and this is my secret formula to doing $1 million. So January rolls around, I'm putting all the work in, I'm trying to make it happen. February rolls around, I'm looking at my numbers, I'm looking at my income, and I'm thinking, I'm going to make the same that I made last year. I'm nowhere close to where I want to be. And so I started to doubt myself. I started to be discouraged. I was really down. I was upset. And that made me very curious once again. I started right back on my learning curve, watching, learning, listening, reading. And I ended up hiring a coach. I hired a coach, and people hire a coach because of one of 3 things. Fundamentals. They need to know what to do. Accountability, they know what to do, they just need somebody to make them do it. Or mindset. So when I got this coach, to me, I needed fundamental help. I was doing something wrong. Something wasn't right. I'm missing something. I'm not doing something I need to be doing. So we went for 4 months, and we went through it. We went through it every week, hour on the phone. And at the end of that 4 months, what I realized, it was amazing. What I realized was that I was doing just fine. And my problem was I wasn't patient. See, there's a place where people are super motivated and they're always chasing this dream, this goal that they never get, because every time they get close, they push it a little further. And a little further, and a little further. And it's like a carrot. And they're just trying to get it. And they're always unhappy because they're never where they want to be. And then there's these other group of people who are super happy. Right? Super happy, content, and everything's great, but they're not motivated. Because they're just cool. They're great with where they are. So both are very dangerous. You don't want to be the guy or girl that's grasping for that next goal, you always push it out of reach, so you're always unsatisfied, and you don't want to be the happy-go-lucky guy or girl that is not motivated. That's when I realized there's a happy medium, where you are happy with where you are, but you're not content, and you're still hungry, and you're still driving, you're still grasping for that carrot, but you understand patience. Does that make sense? So, believe, work hard, adapt, and be patient. And you have to have all four. And very few people do. And I can talk to anybody that is not as successful as they want to be, and I can tell you which one or two or three or four you're missing and what you need to be doing in your whatever business it is to improve in that area. So that's long-term business. That's 5 years, 10 years, right? What do we do to eat right now? What do we do for short-term business? We got bills to pay. It's like I said earlier, it's reverse psychology on the market. The harder you work for long-term business, the more short-term business comes your way. And that's hard to think about. That's hard to grasp when you need to eat. But you got to understand, real estate takes time, right? And when you're learning, you just have to do what you have to do to try to put deals together. And I always tell people that are transitioning into real estate, you need to replace your income that you have now with your job with real estate before you quit your job. I always tell people that. I never think it's a good idea to just jump in. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to do real estate like I did. I could do it because I was 20. I didn't have any bills. I didn't have a house. I didn't have a family. I could do it. But when you're 35 and you have a family to take care of, you can't do that. So short-term business and long-term business go hand in hand. And there's a term I like to use called dual purpose. Dual purpose is having more than one reason for everything you do. So you're going for long-term business, but you get short-term business at the same time. You can fully commit to everything you do when you have more than one reason for why you're doing it. Okay, for example, if you're a realtor, you're making phone calls to property owners, right? A lot of realtors, even if you're an inspector and you're cold calling realtors, because that's who you want. You want to get with the realtors. If you're a mortgage guy, you want to call realtors. You could call either one. But when you're calling people, most people think, I'm trying to do a deal. And if they don't get a deal or an appointment that day out of their 100 calls, they fail. Because all they were going after was a deal, right? Well, here's the thing. Less than 1% of people you talk to for the first time are going to do a deal with you the first time you talk to them, right? What I want you to get out of today is the 20 or 30% of people that you talk to that actually like you enough to do a deal with you, they're just not ready yet. That's where all the money's at. That's where all the business is at. That's how you make it, big time. Not less than 1%. It's the 20 or 30% that like you, they're just not ready. You can live off that 1% just like all the other realtors that aren't thinking long-term. You're still going to live off that. That's your short-term business you're getting after going after long-term business at the same time. So out of the 100 calls, no, you didn't get any deals, but you picked up 5 people that said, yeah, stay in touch. I'll keep you in mind. I'll be glad to work with you when the day comes, right? You pick up 5 here, 5 there, 5 here. Now over 2 years, you got 2,000 people that you wouldn't have had if you didn't think this way. And in 2 years, you got 2,000 people that said that they would use you if they got ready. Now you're number one in your area. Now you're a top producer. Now you're accomplishing your goals by thinking long term. So that's dual purpose, having more than one reason for everything that you do. Think about everything you do and say, what is another purpose I could get at? What is another reason? When you send postcards to a community, it's to, spread the word about this listing or whatever, but it's also to build rapport with the owners. There's 2 reasons there. You need to open up your eyes and see all the reasons why you're doing things and take advantage of all these opportunities that you're doing it anyway. The 2 years is going to go by anyway. Why not capture these people for the future? Right? So that's dual purpose. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. Everything you do, I want you to have dual purpose. I want you to value relationships over transactions every single time. And I want you to work so hard for 2030 that you can't help but to crush 2018. Thank you, guys.